Over the last 18 months, 2 years or so, I've learned a lot in the space of understanding business data, much of which, actually probably all of which, or close to anyway, I've learned through some of the amazing guests we've had on the show, through conversations we've had within the community, and of course through things I've learned through books, podcasts, so on and so forth. Having a clearly defined sales pipeline is one of those metrics which every business must have in place. I cannot tell you how valuable it is when you can look at a single dashboard and you can see across the board where every lead and prospect is within your sales cycle. To which I might add, every business, well, most businesses will have a relatively different sales cycle, some more than others. But making sure that that sales cycle is customized to your company and then understanding where your leads and prospects fall within that sales cycle at any given time and being able to move them through those stages is absolutely paramount. In today's podcast, you guys are going to learn how you can optimize your sales pipeline so that it is attracting the right people and it's moving them through the right stages so that what you effectively have is a sales pipeline full of qualified, engaged, potential customers, leads, prospects, whatever you want to call them. It's a fantastic podcast. It's the second episode in the How to Grow 30% year over year with Predictability series that I'm conducting with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Groth. Guys, the first episode was brilliant too. How to win more work with less effort by selling versus bidding. Go back and check that one out if you've missed it. But this one here is also amazing. So enjoy this podcast. I know you're going to like it. For you guys out there that are listening to this through audio, we're also doing these now via video. So you can head across to YouTube or the Facebook page where you can watch as well as listen if that is more your fancy. Anyway, guys, I'm looking forward to hear your comments and I'd love to hear some of your experiences with your sales pipelines. Get out there and go create them. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello, listeners and viewers. Welcome back to the Site Shed podcast. My name is Matt Jones, and you are joined today with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Groth from Sales Transformation Group over in Florida. Ryan, you have just recorded episode 1 with me. It was how to win more work with less effort by selling versus bidding, and that was the first part of the How to Grow 30% year over year with Predictability series that I'm conducting with you. Thank you once again for joining us back at the microphone.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Glad to be back.
We had hats on for episode 1. We've got hats off for episode 2. Who knows what will happen in episode 3? It might be bald.
The hat hair is strong right now. I might put this hat back on. Yeah.
Guys, for your listeners out there, we are now a video podcast as well, so you can head across to YouTube or you can head across to Facebook on our page or group where you can watch if that tickles your fancy a little bit more than the audio. It's up to you. We are catering for your needs. So if you missed the first episode, do go back and check that out because it was pretty valuable. Ryan was talking a lot about how you can spend a little bit more time with the actual sales part of the process as opposed to just sending out quotes. So some really useful frameworks there. And also, guys, there are some resources available to you that Ryan's left behind through both the show notes for each episode and if you head across to the resources page at the SiteShed podcast, which is thesiteshed.com/resources, you'll be able to get access to those also there. Thank you for leaving them behind, Ryan. That is gold. Cool. So yeah, make sure you go check out episode 1. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about optimizing for an ever-growing and juicy sales pipeline. Definitely an excellent segue from the previous episode. I suppose where in the first episode, we're talking more about taking the focus off the proposals and putting it onto, selling the dream and selling the benefits and all that kind of stuff. Now we're talking about filling that pipeline up with the right type of person, the right type of work, and making sure that you've got enough leads in the pipeline there to fuel the teams. So yeah, fire away, mate. What's the let's jump right into part 2.
Yeah, let's do it. So an ever-growing juicy sales pipeline, what is that? I think we need to define a sales pipeline. Like a pipeline is not, top of the funnel. Pipeline's like deals that are qualified and are closable, and you have a next step, and like if they're going to close or when they're going to give you a decision. Like they're either going to give you a decision, yes or no. So like if you think about the kind of targets we have, and if you want to grow our business, we want to make a certain amount of margin. It's like, let's sort of work backwards, right? We make money when you make profit, and profit comes from doing work when you have a backlog of work. So it's booked projects that are under contract, or you're basically chewing away, right, through labor hours, and you're earning your way to making money. And then hopefully you make the money that you're anticipating. That backlog is contingent upon contracts. And then contracts is contingent upon sales made and pipeline. And so if you think about like the kind of revenue we have, which is, was that with a good client? Were they happy? Did they get results? All that stuff. It comes all the way from those variables before we even signed a contract, which is pipeline. There's so many variables that go into that. And let's not be thinking about revenue. Let's thinking about like, is this going into a machine, and does that fuel the kind of fuel we want? If you're bidding a job and you're kind of low bid, or if it's outside of your scope, you're just because you don't really have enough pipeline, you're just kind of picking something up, then you're going to do it for a little less because you don't feel confident in it, and is that your specialty? So now you have backlog that you have to put more pressure on your company and your crews to make any money on it, and it's stressful, and you actually may take your eye off the ball. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that if we want to grow predictably 30% year over year, we need to have a focus and a relentless optimization, just what is the word when you're fanatical, right? Fanatical focus on the pipeline. So when you do that, you want to start with what problem are you solving better than anyone else? Mm-hmm. And I think too many people try to do too much. So for what's their problem? What do you solve, better than anyone else? And then are we putting enough of the leading activity to really generate those opportunities? So that there's a lot of leading activity that can generate those, but if you have a really good pipeline, and a really good closing ratio, you're going to need, let's say you're closing 75%, you need 4 proposals to get 3 deals. So you can kind of reverse engineer that and make sure you're getting enough meetings on the calendar to get that consistently. If it's a lower closing ratio, you're going to need more meetings. But really, it's knowing what problem do you solve better than anybody else, because when you do that, you're going to be able to do what? If you could solve a problem better than anyone else, you're going to be able to do what?
Well, you'll be able to close more deals, but ideally you'll be able to attract the right type of customer.
That's right. And you can make more money on the job because you can demand more gross profit margin. So the best world is living in a world where we can make the most gross profit margin on every job. So I've heard some friends of mine, they love what's called 3D projects. It's dirty, difficult, and dangerous. The more 3D projects they get, the more they're able to have the margins that they want, and because people don't want to touch them, or they're too risky, or things like that. So it's it's really important to think about juicy pipeline. That's pipeline where we have people with a lot of pain. There's a lot less people involved. I'm not one of 10 bidders, but I'm maybe the only game in town, or one of 2. And you think about what creates that world. Well, it's differentiation. It's selling, not bidding, and and solving a problem that nobody else is solving as good as you, and relationships. So if you are dealing, I know for me, if I'm going to call someone to do my pool, I like to buy from people who have helped my friends, and they say, hey, it works. I don't really want to shop them out because I just want the problem to be solved because somebody else already said it works. So if you're relational and your strategy, and you're not just like, hey, Matt, yeah, I need to win the job or pick up some work. Instead, they think I need to win the client or win the account, or I want to, build the right relationship. That whole strategy and getting clients and filling up your pipeline changes everything. And now you have relationships versus just jobs. And, then you have a reoccurring opportunity, you have referrals, you have network, and you have a lot more long-term, repeat business opportunities where you're the only game in town or just one of two, and you're solving a problem better than anyone else. So therefore you're making more margin. You tack that onto a good sales process with a sales analysis that I talk about, and clearing away the head trash, and, really being focused. Toss in a CRM where you're paying attention and tracking to all those leading activities that create that, and have a salesperson accountable to those numbers. Now we're starting to get pretty juicy and ever growing and focused and different. So
this is like really close to home right now, because we have over the last few months been developing a sales pipeline product for trade businesses over at Trade Web Guys, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's designed to take, like you say, put people through the different stages of a process, but then it's also designed as well to, give them overview, foresight as to where people are within that process, and how and some of those things can be moved through automation. I'm not going to go into all that kind of crap, but it's very, very fresh in the mind for me, and especially my clients out there that I've been busting their ears open with this kind of stuff for months. It's really good when you get people on the show who talk about things that you've been talking about, because I'm 95% convinced that most of my clients won't listen to me, but they'll certainly listen to when someone else comes on the show. So that's awesome. And one of the things as well that we noticed, like when you were talking about getting optimizing and ever growing a juicy sales pipeline, yeah, sure, a lot of really, really strong leads come through the referral networks that we develop. Word of mouth is important. And we found one thing that really helps improve conversion off word of mouth. So taking it back 20 years ago, if I said to you, hey, Ryan, you need to get your pool done, go and speak to Bill's Pools. They're amazing. They did mine. You'd be like, yeah, sweet, no problem. Call them up. Hey, I want to get you to my pool done. Whereas what we see now is, if I said to you, hey, Ryan, go and get Bill's Pools to put your pool in, they're amazing. He goes, yeah, sweet, no worries. Let me go look them up. And so the difference there's a little bit of an extra step in the ecosystem where customers are now savvy enough that they're going to do their own research, regardless of whether it's come from a recommendation. So you're going to make sure that once people land on that asset or whatever it is, that they're, you're represented correctly, and that will improve those conversions dramatically.
Yeah, and that's where case studies and testimonials and reviews are so critical. And if you're not relational, you're not going to get those organically. You're not going to get them as much. And I think that's the difference between selling consultatively, asking more questions, really connecting a little bit, and not just being transactional. That's when that stuff really. It's a framework that you can stand on, and a foundation that you can build a lot of great relationships with. And I tell you, in the B2B world, you start to get into a whole nother like stratosphere. You have associations and groups and partners, and the HVAC guy and the roofing guy support each other. They serve the same clients, and they're supporting one another and helping the referral network expand in your market. And I'm gonna tell you, man, this is something I'm passionate about. When contractors start to focus on their community too and giving back, a lot of people know like what you do. You're a roofer, right? How you do it good. Well, everyone's expecting that. Right. Everyone's expecting you to do something and do a good job. Like you can't
use that as marketing.
Quality, Yeah. Like here's what you can market though, is why you do it. You can market why you do it. And when you start to do that and people feel connected to your why as a company, and there's like a soul to it, now like now they're paying more just to do business with you because they know what you're doing is cool. So that's why community engagement is really important. Networking, giving back to certain association or nonprofits or certain charities. And when you do that in a local community focus, not just like some private thing, but you make it a part of your brand to a degree, and it's powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah, no, I love that.
That helps. Yeah.
It's such an important, like we deal with a lot of, actually just recently I had a fellow, Marty Amos on the show, who's from the Professional Builder. Brilliant program those guys have got just for builders, mind you. But, he said a similar thing, like if you can find a way to invest into the community at whatever level that is, it might be a sporting club, it might be a school, it might be, helping them fund the next building project in a school or whatever, find a way to tap into that, which can then, it will have like its own little ecosystem effect, like the school will likely give you access to, maybe their database, or put you in the newsletters, which gives you access to the parents and all this kind of stuff. Like there's really a lot of people, think, and obviously like we're a digital marketing agency. So, people come to us and they're like, oh, in AdWords, we need SEO, we need this, and you go, okay, cool. Why don't we take a step back and have a look at some of the non-digital stuff that you can do, which can have a huge impact? Because like from a digital perspective, it's designed to convert leads once they get there, but what are you doing in order to get those leads, which doesn't always have to be digital?
Doesn't have to be. Yeah, there's a lot of really powerful organic methods. And I think if you're going to rely only on digital, then you're staying in that transactional element. But if you're building almost like a part of your atmosphere is layered with relationship and networking and that kind of investment of energy, you're going to see that cross-pollination. Next thing you know, that AdWord respondent knows somebody as well. There's a referral. There's a combination of things. And I think that to build an ever-growing, juicy sales pipeline, you have to be relational and think about accounts or, clients versus transactions or picking up the job.
I've got to say, like for any of the listeners out there that want to get more information on referral strategy, I had a guest on the show, Michael Griffiths. It was the ultimate referral marketing system for tradies and contractors. And it was episode 185 to 187. And it was absolutely amazing. And he's got an incredible book. It's not really a book. It's like a little blueprint where it takes people through the network. It's purely networking. He's a networking guru. And it was a very well received series. So for any of you guys who want to check that out, it's 185 to 187. I completely relate though to that whole mindset. But then as the great Danny Kerr says, your referrals will likely get you to say the maybe $500,000 turnover mark. And then from there, you really need marketing. So the question that I sort of have for you, I suppose, Ryan, is what we're talking about in terms of like, what you've just spoken about there in that framework and that methodology and that approach to building relationships. Yes, it works for referrals, but then I imagine once you start plugging in lead generation tools into the same framework, it will have the same effect, right?
Yeah, it complements, it augments, right? It takes it to another level.
Augment, good word.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, because I think that's a lot of people might, and we've got a lot of actually a post in the group only yesterday with a guy who's relocated. So he's picked up and moved from, I think it was Sydney up to far north Queensland, and he doesn't know anyone up there, and his referral network's going to be relatively small until he gets out there and starts meeting new people. So he may have to rely on marketing as a lead generation tool until that sort of kicks in.
Yeah, I mean, or you did as well. But one of the big things I love to do is kind of, I have a tree right here. It's a reminder. It's that tree is actually it's literally a money tree. There's actually a tree called a money tree.
Right.
And I think about money grows on trees. It grows on referral trees.
Okay.
And so if you have a referral tree, which I like to kind of just keep it fresh, it's a center of influence tree. So somebody who's like really influential into your market's community, and just keep like certain people top of mind. and then just call them and check in and give them something or give them some a resource. Next thing you know, man, you're just like you're speaking at another association event, or you're doing some like residential community lunch and learn. And I mean, there's just like, with the right centers of influence, you just network your way in. You can get yourself in front of the right people, and you just have a nice handy presentation, and you just engage some folks with some of the issues you solve. And then you're going to walk away with some meetings, and then that's going to be relational. And if you have a good sales process and you're not getting too excited too early, and you ask the right questions, then you're spending your time on a proposal, you'll close it. It's pretty fun. But there's different ways that I like to teach that are organic, that salespeople can do, or owners can do.
I suppose it's a far more time-consuming way than running a Google ad, isn't it? But like, the results are compounding. Like, it's as you say, you're out there, you're meeting people, you're being seen, you're actually in the space. Whereas, and the conversions, and I know this for a fact, the conversions are formidably higher than a conversion that someone is going to see from clicking on an ad from Google. So it's a harder road to walk from a time investment perspective, and I suppose an energy perspective, but it depends what you're chasing. Like, do you want the right type of customer? You're going to meet them through doing it like that.
And do you want to play the long game, right? Do you want to win for the next 30 years? Do you want your children to want to be involved? Do you want them to step into something like that or whatever? Or do you just want to kind of build something real quick, put some cash in so that you can close up and go live on the beach? Either way is cool. It just depends on what you want. Right. I think if you want to play the long game, investing in the relationships are going to give a long tail effect, because people remember people. People remember good connections. And you and I had a 30-minute chat before this, and to get connected, and it was like through a relationship, right? And then it was like, man, we hit it off. And that's a skill that I think most of us just need to just remember that wins. I know digital and ads are there, but let it be a complement to that mindset, not be a substitute.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so, and we promote the heck out of this, guys out there, invest in spending time on your website, like with case studies and project galleries and showcasing the work you do. And, you've got your customer testimonials and all this kind of stuff there, because that will resonate with a potential customer, very much. And especially if you've, obviously spent time preparing that, because you can't make that stuff up.
Totally.
So I'm curious just as to if you have, in the space of referrals or in the space of, say, networking, is there any sort of given framework, or even maybe even it's obtaining case studies or testimonials? Do you have any advice or guidance in how to best get that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I have one of the resources I gave you. I have an account development meeting, is what I call it, an ADM. So in there, I show, kind of the steps you want to take from, to get them to like evangelist, right? And I think you have to earn it. I think you have to make sure that they're happy, and you solve the problem and they were pleased. You don't want to ask for a referral from somebody who is kind of frustrated or something down there is, bothering them. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important. So I have some steps there that you could follow that go from that all the way to case study. Perfect. And one of the big ones is, who do you know, inside, outside, if it's an organization or just in their network. So who do you know, and where do you go? Like, where do you hang out? Like, what is it that, is there, if it's a property manager, they may go to a property manager group. If it's assisted living facility, there may be an assisted living facility association in their town that they could speak at. And it's like fish in a barrel. Everybody's right there. So I think when you follow your clients into where they go, and now you're like kind of playing wingman, or, you're playing like you're on their side. Next thing you know, hey, you should meet this guy. And now they're selling for you versus you selling for yourself. Yeah. And I think it's really cool when you have someone who's happy in a room, and now you get 3 or 4 or 5 referrals, bing, bang, boom. Those are 3 or 5 leads. You're going to close most of them with your sales process. So there's different framework. That framework is in there for you guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Now I know as well, like a lot of the guys out there, and it's been a big focus for us as well, is helping companies re-engage with their existing customers, because very often what happens, people come to us every day and they'll say, hey, we need more leads. And we go, well, let's have a look at the ones you're getting and the ones that you currently have. And let's see how often you re-engage with those. Very often, not a lot. There seems to be this whole churn and burn mentality with lead generation where, as you and I know, you're 80% more likely to retain a customer than to get a new one. So if you can invest some of that resource into retention, your pocket will benefit and your conversions will improve. I'm curious, with this optimizing, reduce your sales pipeline, does it incorporate an element of re-engagement?
Yeah, for sure. Like if you're B2B, that account development meeting framework would be exactly what we're talking about doing. Like, hey, I did a repair for somebody. Let's go back in and take it deeper. If it's B2C, it's a little bit more, are we transactional, right? You think that you dealt with the homeowner, it's over. I think that's where the beauty of having the ability to solve a few more problems, because it is 5 times less expensive to make a sale through an existing client than it is to make a new one. It's just so much easier. People just trust you, they believe in you. So that's why repair work is so critical, because you can start low and then do bigger jobs. That's why having different whatever it is your skill set is, but having the ability to do more and just solve one problem is really nice. It all depends on the type of client, but I think it depends on your client. But the data account development meeting framework is something I love to do.
I like that I said 8 times more likely, and you said 5 times more likely. I'd like to clarify for the listeners and viewers out there that also 75% of statistics are made up. So you just believe whatever you want.
5 times less expensive, but yeah, exactly.
So
I love that.
Before we wrap this up, I suppose I'll just talk a little bit about some of the tools and tech, because I know there's a lot of technology available today which can really help you with optimization, optimizing these pipelines. And like, whether you're a tech person or not, like a lot of people listen to this go, I hate technology. Okay, fine, whatever. But the reality is, as humans, in my experience, we are the ones that tend to drop the ball when it comes to stages of this sales pipeline. And having technology that can fill the gaps in those places. And don't get me wrong, that gap might even be sending you a notification to follow up with Bill and Sally. Doesn't necessarily have to be sending out, email sequences or whatever. But I think it's really important that you guys have some sort of sales pipeline tracker within your business that you can share across the team that everyone can have access to. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Must have.
And I'm a big believer. I've said it a million times before. It doesn't really matter what you use as long as you use something. So CRM or customer relationship management tools, most of them will have some sort of sales pipeline tracker. We like ActiveCampaign. We use that for all of our clients. We set that up. It's a fantastic little pipeline tool. But I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens of these things around. So I wouldn't get too bogged down with which one to use. I would just get bogged down with using one. What's your thoughts on LinkedIn?
Love LinkedIn.
Yeah. So as a B2B, I suppose, introduction tool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful. And shooting messages to people, and then, engaging folks in a professional way. I think Facebook is kind of crossover with personal quite a bit. I use it for a lot of business now, just because I'm kind of all in with my business, with my personal profile. I post, both, but man, LinkedIn's powerful. And I think what's really powerful about it is how many people really engage it and are on it. Even people without profile pictures and no company, logo, and it looks all foggy. I mean, those people are on it and they're just looking at stuff that's relevant. Mm-hmm. And if you're putting really good content, I think anytime you put content and you email broadcast it, that organic LinkedIn, organic Facebook, organic email broadcast is very powerful content distribution. That I think not enough people take advantage of, and there's some nuances to it as anything. But as you get your arms around it, man, it's powerful.
We're actually, we've got a full LinkedIn series coming up for you listeners and viewers out there. So you can stay tuned for that. It's all been locked in. Actually, it's probably coming up directly after. Yeah, it is. It's coming up directly after this series. So there you go. You can stay tuned for that one, folks. Yeah, but no, I think it ties into what we were saying before about people will research you. So today, whether you get a referral or not, people will go and do a bit of homework. They might jump on LinkedIn and try and find you. How does that profile look? Is it professionally represented? Have you been recommended for certain things? All this kind of stuff. So it does pay to invest in that kind of thing, because whether or not you see it as a waste of time initially, you don't know who's looking at that profile. Well, you can know that actually. They're part of LinkedIn will let you know who's looking at it, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I go to a show or I'm speaking somewhere and people will be like, man, I see you all over LinkedIn. Your stuff's great. Your content's great. So for you to be able to put your DNA out into the world without having to be in front of them physically, on a regular basis is powerful. And, you need to add to your network too. You don't just let people add to you. You need to add to them. Mm-hmm. The random marketers and other parts of the country and the world are asking to connect with you, and you say yes, but your target clients aren't probably going to start hunting you down. You need to hunt them down, right? So unless you're like famous or something, and then you'll have a boatload of them. But yeah, you got to go hunt them down, and then you get to just post relevant content. It's so powerful. I don't think enough people do it. Yep.
Love it. All right, mate. Well, let's wrap this one up. So, listeners, you just listened to, or viewers, you're watching the second episode. That was optimizing for an ever-growing and juicy sales pipeline. It was part 2 of the How to Grow 30% year over year with Predictability series. I'm conducting with Mr. Ryan Groth from Sales Transformation Group. That's salestransformationgroup.com. All the links to this stuff will be within the show notes, guys. So head across there, and you'll also be able to get access to Ryan's resources that he's left behind for you for the grand price of 0. We're going to be coming back to close this episode off with the final third part, which is called Achieving Contractor Nirvana by Building a High-Performance Sales Team. Guys, if you want to be part of the conversation, head across to the Facebook group. Ryan's in there, and you'll be able to ask questions within there. Otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Ryan, thank you for your time, and we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, Matt.
Ciao. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com, where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from this show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.